And welcome to the
Willie
and Fridgie Show. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about college football playoffs, the ramifications, and really what's going to unfold here in the next few days. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the championship games. We have the Big Ten championship game between
the Ohio State University and the Wisconsin Badgers.
We have the Big 12 championship game,
The TCU Horned Frogs and the Oklahoma Sooners.
the Pac-12 championship game,
The Stanford Cardinal and the USC Trojans.
the ACC championship
The
game,
Clemson Tigers and Miami Hurricanes.
and the SEC championship game.
The Georgia Bulldogs and the Auburn Tigers.
So the first thing we're going to tell you is we are very Big Ten oriented people. Not big fans of the SEC. Kind of think it's overrated.
It is. I agree with you.
I think there's only one conference that's really superior. I think it's the Big Ten. Big Ten East, to be absolutely honest with you.
Big Ten East. The Big Ten West is very weak.
Very weak.
Wisconsin rolled that over pretty easily.
And honestly, they did it in such a clean fashion, too, which makes me wonder. We'll start off here with the Big Ten championship game. What are going to be the keys for Wisconsin to win that game?
Keys is to melt as much time off that clock as they can. That running game is going to be the factor. If they can't run the ball, they're not going to be able to beat that Ohio State defense.
What about Alex Hornibrook? I mean, a lot of people had a lot of questions about him heading into the season, and then even halfway through the season when they were debating whether to put them in the top four with them being an undefeated Power 5 team.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to throw the ball much in this game. That Ohio State defense is very, very good. Wisconsin's just going to have to run the football. If they can't run it, Ohio State's going to win big, but it should be a good game, though, if they can run the football.
And especially with their freshman running back. True freshman running back comes into the Big Ten, absolutely dicing everybody up. What do you think about him?
I think he's going to be playing on Sundays. Just give him a little bit of time. He might. Who knows? He might even win the Heisman next year if he keeps up what he's doing.
Now we'll flip the card a little bit here. We'll go to Ohio State. What do you think the keys are going to be for Ohio State?
The keys is JT being JT. I mean, if he played like he did against Penn State, he's going to roll this Wisconsin team over. But he's the leader of this squad, and he really needs to carry them through it.
Now, my opinion about JT is not the same as his. I don't think JT is the better quarterback on the team, but I think he's the better leader on the team, which is why I think he starts over Dwayne Haskins. It's not even a competition, obviously, but I just don't think he has all the tools to be the better quarterback in this game, even, to be honest with you. I think Alex Hornibrook is the better quarterback in this game, but I think the key is going to be between Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins. I think they are they're a 1-2 combination, you know what I mean? And they're both number one running backs. Right. It just doesn't – I don't think
it's all up for interpretation. Just depends on how JT reads that defense. And, Urban puts a lot of trust in him. And like you said, Weber and Dobbins are going to be the key to their success. But, I mean, I think JT, I feel like he's going to have a big game in this one. Just something about it.
And something also to bring to your attention is that Ohio State has the number one yardage offense. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wisconsin's defense is number one in about every single category.
Well, Wisconsin hasn't really had a test yet, so we're going to have to really see how they play against a quality opponent here.
Well, they did have a test there against Michigan, and they beat them pretty handily. What did you think about that?
I just didn't think Michigan had the tools this year to be a competitive team. They're sitting at 8-4. The quarterback's weak. Just all around, they were just banged up this year. And I believe they'll bounce back next year, but this year was just a mess for Michigan football.
So, what's your pick on that game?
I got Ohio State winning this one. I think it's just going to be too much for Wisconsin. They've never seen a team like this before. I'm taking Ohio State by 10 in this one.
Cool. I'm also going to go with Ohio State. I think something dramatic is going to happen. I think Ohio State wins by 3. And in order for Ohio State to win, I think J.K. Dobbins has to have around a 60-yard touchdown run for us to win it, to prove that he is the better running back on the field.
Interesting.
So the next game we're going to go in talking about is the Big 12 championship game. That is between TCU and Oklahoma. And we'll start with TCU.
Yeah, Kenny Hill's been very impressive this year. He's the Texas A&M transfer, 2,604 yards passing, only 5 picks on the year. But Baker Mayfield, over 4,000 yards passing, 37 touchdowns.
I mean, that's impressive.
It's going to be a high-scoring affair. There's something about struggling to beat a team twice. I just think the TCU, man, I think TCU might pull this off. But I'm saying, though, Oklahoma has this edge.
Yeah. Don't give away your pick yet, but definitely no defense in this game.
Right. No,
not going to be very much defense, I think.
These two teams will at least be in the high 40s at the end of this.
Yeah.
Could be even more.
And I'll tell you, the over-under on this game is in the 60s,
Yes.
and that's baffling to me. I mean,
It's
both
very
teams are
baffling.
going to put out 40 to 50 points.
I personally agree with you, and just Big 12 in general, there's just no defense.
Just let's take a look at Baker Mayfield real quick. Over 4,000 passing yards, only 5 interceptions, and 37 touchdowns.
It's really incredible what he's done.
Compared to his counterpart, who only has
19.
2,500 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. I mean,
I'm just saying, the only way TCU has a shot in this one is to shut down that Baker Mayfield, and that's not going to be an easy task.
I think they're going to have at least 3 interceptions to win this
I would
game.
agree. Kenny Hill's going to have to ball out in this one. So who's your pick in this one?
For me, personally, I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think it's just because I'd like to see them win as a Buckeye. They came into my shoe and stomped us, and if anybody's going to do it, I'd rather beat them.
I'm going with the Sooners as well. They win a shootout 52-49 against TCU.
That's definitely a wise pick. All right, we're going to move to the SEC championship game, a rematch between Georgia and Auburn. And last time, boy, this did not go well for Georgia.
It did not. Anytime a team goes into Auburn number 1, it seems like they just get knocked off.
Yeah, it is not good for the number 1 team. But fortunately for Georgia, they're number 6 this week, and I think they're bringing a little something in to prove.
Yep. We're sitting at another rematch here.
See, Jake Fromm is going to be the starter for Georgia, and as a true freshman, has not eclipsed 2,000 yards, but is right there.
Mm-hmm.
20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, for a true freshman to come into the SEC and play like that, I mean, what do you think about that?
He's come really prepared, and they've had tough games this year. Georgia had to win on the road against Notre Dame, along with Auburn. They've not had an easy schedule either, but more benefit of the doubt for being home for sure. But yet again, Auburn, neutral site. We'll see how it really goes. And reminding too that Georgia and Auburn, that championship game takes place down at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is going to be a home game for Georgia.
Basically a home game. The crowd's going to be there for Georgia. But on the flip side of this, let's look at Jarrett Stidham. Comes out of Baylor and he played well at Baylor when he was there.
Very well.
And then, Baylor had, there's stuff
Just
going on.
mess.
Don't want to get into that. And he comes to Auburn and leads them over Alabama.
Right.
Over Georgia.
Right.
His performance is absolutely unreal. His completion percentage is almost 70%. He has 16 touchdowns on the year.
Don't look at those losses too for Auburn. They may be sitting at 10-2, but had 2 tough teams on the road with LSU and Clemson.
Yeah, and I think a really big deal in this game is the 2 running backs.
I agree.
Nick Chubb and Kerryon Johnson. Hopefully Kerryon Johnson is healthy. We'd never wish somebody to be hurt, but
right.
If he's not playing in this game, Auburn's really going to take a hit on the offensive side.
They'd be in very much so trouble, but we will have to see it. This one's a tough one to pick. I'll go with your opinion first on this one.
I think it goes back to it's tough to beat someone twice.
Yep.
I don't think Georgia makes the same mistakes.
Right.
But I don't think anyone's better than Auburn right now. I think Auburn is the number 1 team in the nation, in my opinion. Clemson obviously has the resume for it, and that's what they look at, and they only have 1 loss, and it was to Syracuse. But there's just nobody playing better than Auburn. I pick Auburn to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
With this home field advantage for Georgia, it's kind of hard not to pick Georgia, but Yet again, Auburn is playing hot right now. Auburn's going to squeak this one out, and I'm saying it's going to go to overtime in this one. 27-24. Auburn's going to get it done over Georgia.
You heard it here. If it goes into overtime, this guy called it. All right. Now we're going to get into the ACC championship game. Miami versus Clemson. Now, let me tell you first off, I was at the Pitt-Miami game, and
boy, did the
I watched Miami.
Boy, were the Pitt Panthers ready to play in this one. They found their quarterback.
But all I'm saying is, if Miami can't stop a true freshman Kenny Pickett and that offense that really didn't do anything all year long, I mean, they lost to a North Carolina Tar Heels team with one win.
Right.
And then they come in to this game with nothing to lose.
This is one of those championship games that you're just going to probably see a blowout from Clemson, to be honest with you.
Or you could see Miami coming in with a chip on their shoulder.
I just don't see it. Miami's been overrated all year. Only beating North Carolina by 5, losing to Pitt, losing to Virginia at halftime.
I mean, they should have lost to Virginia, and they got lucky.
Clemson wins this one big. There's no doubt in my mind.
Give away your pick already. I'm big guy.
I'm giving away.
So let's talk real quick though, because we got to talk about Clemson. Bryant comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hurt in their only loss of the season,
right?
And
he's a key factor.
Shows you how important he is as a player,
right?
And I mean, I really have not gotten to watch a lot of them this year, but I can tell you from what I did watch, he's a stud.
Very much so. You know, he beat Auburn this year.
Yeah, that's another
that
one.
Shows, his character. You know, the Syracuse loss. A lot of people are looking at it as that bad, but the backup quarterback's in there. You can't really blame Clemson for that. Just they're in a good position still, number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, if they roll over Miami, I think they're going to roll in those college football playoffs.
And one more thing is, Miami pulled Rozier for their backup. I mean, what kind of confidence?
Yeah,
you have no confidence in your quarterback heading into this game.
Very short confidence there. Miami, they grinded the whole year, but it's just not going to be enough to overcome Clemson.
Yeah. You know what? The way they've been playing these last few games. The only good game Miami really has played is
that Notre Dame one.
Notre Dame.
Yep.
I mean, Virginia Tech, they were ranked 13th.
They were all at home, what I'm saying?
Whatever. They played all these games at home, but, I mean, they went in and smacked Notre Dame.
Strength of schedule, too. You got to look at that stuff,
So, all right, we'll move on here to the Pac-12 championship game.
Which is tomorrow.
Yeah, going to be tonight. Remember, this goes on the next day. So we're just adjusting to it. Don't worry about that. Stanford USC, and I want to hear you talk about this one first.
Boy, this is another rematch. Stanford was not ready to play that football game the first time around. Sam Darnold ate them alive. But I'll tell you what, watching that KJ Costello kid play last week, along with Love, I mean, they just rolled Notre Dame over. USC got crushed by Notre Dame. Stanford's, I think they have the edge. Sam Darnold's not been playing that well this year. 12 picks versus his 2 picks. So,
yeah, and I think it's fair to say that USC is going to have the quarterback advantage.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you watched that game at all last week, and that kid played amazing.
Out of his mind.
KJ Costello is his name for Stanford. If you haven't heard of him, you're going to. I mean, he is an absolute baller.
This is going to be another one of those high-scoring games like the Big 12. The defense just not present. I mean, Stanford.
Can we talk about Bryce Love for a minute?
We can.
I mean,
absolutely.
A high ankle sprain. And he limps off the field every 2 plays. And then the time he gets the ball, he gets 9 to 11 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I mean, the heart and the drive of that kid.
Yeah, he'll be in the Heisman talks for years to come, for sure.
It's absolutely amazing.
For sure.
So the over-under on this game is 58, and
I'm going with over on this one.
You got to. I mean,
these offenses are very explosive.
Yeah, their defenses are not very good.
I just see another shootout in this one.
I mean, their total yards allowed both almost eclipse 400 a game.
Right.
That's too much. Total points per game allowed.
Right.
Over 20.
Over.
This is definitely going to be one heck of a game. So
heck of
there's
a
your Power 5 conference championship games, and we forgot to pick. We forgot to pick that game.
Jeez.
So I'm going to pick Stanford personally after watching them. I think
my gut Stanford as well.
Yeah, they just played.
It'll be
well.
a shootout. Don't know the score for you folks, but it's going to be a shootout.
So now we're going to get into talking about the coaches. First off, Florida has hired Dan Mullen.
Yeah, very, very wise pick by the Florida Gators there.
Yeah, I feel
former coach there, and he gave Mississippi all he got. 9 years there. Just, his time was up there, and Florida's the right fit for him.
You think so? I feel for Nick Fitzgerald, man. That's his head coach. His head coach gone, but
even better one coming in.
Yeah, tell me, you're a Penn State fan. Tell me a little bit about Joe Moorhead.
Joe Moorhead, I think he is definitely more of a head coach than an offensive coordinator. And, Barkley, man, just like at the beginning of the year, his offense was working, strategies were working. They got to that Ohio State game, they kind of just flipped around a little bit.
They abandoned Saquon Barkley in that game.
I think they
ruined his whole season.
Joe Moorhead, in his play calling, ruined Saquon Barkley's Heisman candidate choice. And, now that he's gone, I honestly think it's a better move for Penn State. Mississippi State gets the head coach they want. So that's my opinion on that.
I don't know much about Joe Moorhead, and we appreciate your insight there. So now we're going to talk about the biggest one of all, UCLA.
Yeah, I think this one was more of a mistake.
Really?
Mistake.
Go ahead and talk first.
Chip Kelly, this guy's been a coach everywhere, it feels like. And just, Oregon, really good coach. Towards the end, he wanted to go pro, and I think that's where it ruined him. He's not a professional coach. Goes to the Eagles, can't do it there. Goes to the 49ers, even worse. It just kind of ruined his resume, and I don't know how he's going to react to going back to a college team and, developing those players there. It's going to take a while for UCLA to be good again, in my opinion.
Yeah, I disagree completely. He's been on ESPN for the past 2 years now.
Irrelevant.
He's been in front of recruits' faces. He is nationally known as a high-tempo offense, and he's taken that to UCLA. I think it's going to benefit them over there in California. They got a lot of
no doubt. I'm not saying it's not going to benefit them. I'm just saying it's going to take a couple of years to get UCLA going again. They haven't had a good year in a long time. You still got the USCs, the Stanfords in there. Washington plays well year in and year out. And who knows? Maybe Oregon will get back on track. So.
Yeah, I really think this was a good move for them. But let's play hypothetical here. What if he would have went to Florida?
See, that would have been...
That would have been bad.
That would have been bad.
I mean...
The amount of coaches Florida's had in past years is just ridiculous.
Pac-12, SEC. I mean, where are you going? I'm not going to the SEC.
I don't want to go to the SEC.
Fighting
Unless you're Alabama or Auburn or Georgia, not a chance, SEC.
I'm not going against St. Nick.
Right.
Okay, Nick Saban. I'm not going against him.
Absolutely not.
I don't want to.
And LSU's not an easy team either, so...
LSU, you're gonna have to play all those good teams in the SEC. And
tell you what, the LSU's coach has done an excellent job there since Les Miles left that program. Ed Orgeron, excellent job there, replacing Les.
I think he's came in and really put a positive influence on a program that could have went south very.
But going back to your point, I think as a coach, you want to coach in the Pac-12.
Yeah. So. Nebraska, still open. Obviously, have to wait for UCF. We think Scott Frost is going to end up there.
Very high candidate there. I think number one choice. He's from Nebraska. He said he would take that job, but however, UCF's in a BCS potential mode right now.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're not a Power 5 team, and I don't know how they would play against a Power 5 school.
Yeah.
But you got to think. It would be at least competitive, like Western Michigan last year. PJ Fleck,
right?
PJ Fleck. I mean, you got to think that it would at least be competitive. So
I agree with you.
We're gonna head into our third thought of the day. Who do we think will win the Heisman? You go ahead with your guy.
Boy, it's kind of hard not to take Baker Mayfield at this point. With all the shenanigans we deal with him, it's just too much. The kid's just incredible. Throwing over 400 yards a game, it's just ridiculous. It's hard not to. I mean, I'm a Penn State guy. I wish Saquon Barkley would win it, but he's not even close anymore. So it's the obvious choice here. It's Baker Mayfield, no doubt.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to surprise you here. Bryce Love.
Really?
Yeah, he's played amazing. Gets over 100 rushing yards almost every game.
Mm-hmm.
I know he sat out those weeks. I know when he sat out, their team lost.
Right.
So when you find a guy with as much heart and grit as that guy, I see how it's hard to pick the guy who, I mean, we all saw what he did on national TV.
Mm-hmm.
We all know kids look up to him, and we all know we don't want our high school freshman to have the impression that when he becomes the starting quarterback, that it's okay to do that when you're beating up on a team that you obviously know is lesser than you. You're a captain on the football team, and you're a senior. I mean, you know the camera's on you 100% of the time, which holds him out of being the Heisman for me.
I mean, I wish this award was based on heart and grit because it definitely would not be Baker Mayfield at this point. But, the best player in college football, I mean, man, that kid is very good. I think he'll finish second. But, with Barkley too, how that offense just destroyed. He was leading it for a while, and then Baker Mayfield just went off. It's just too much. Baker's going to win it.
All right, so with that, we are going to pick who the top 6 teams are after this weekend. All right, so here are our top 6. So you and I, we kind of got the same thing.
Similar, yep.
No, we have the exact same thing.
Exact same thing. My bad. Forget the similar.
So Clemson number 1, Auburn number 2, Oklahoma at 3, Ohio State at 4, Alabama at 5, and Penn State at 6.
Yes, sir.
Here we go for all you Bama fans, all right?
Oh, boy.
So let's compare here. Let's play the game, the committee game.
Oh, we're going to play the game.
Clemson number 1, easy choice. They're going to beat Miami.
Very easy.
Auburn going to beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's going to beat TCU.
Yep.
Ohio State's going to beat Wisconsin.
Right.
With that win being over the number 4 team in the nation, that's another top 25 win.
It is.
Ohio State has beat Penn State. Ohio State has beat Michigan State.
Not just beat them, they crushed them.
Yeah, we pummeled them.
Pummeled.
And then with this win, Ohio State would beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's really, at this point, all strength of, the wins. Obviously, going back to last year's topic when Penn State won the Big Ten championship, they just didn't have those regular season wins on the resume besides Ohio State. But Ohio State's proven how their strength of schedule is 10 times better than what Bama's been this year.
Now, my only issue that could present with this is Urban Meyer performing in big games.
Right.
I mean, how do we look over the Iowa loss? That's not even a big game. I mean, he got outcoached thoroughly on a field. I know it was at Iowa. I know it was, after a emotional game. But it's very hard to get past that. And I think
I just believe that wasn't Ohio State that day.
it was a farce.
They weren't ready to play. I had a feeling they weren't going to be, and it's just something about Iowa. Even if you sent Alabama to Iowa, it would be a close one.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're not walking in that stadium.
No, not blowing them out. No.
I mean, think back to the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and Iowa.
Michigan.
Who won?
Iowa.
So, I mean, it's hard to walk in there.
It
And
is.
I know everybody's argument, well, Purdue went in there and beat them pretty handily.
I'll tell you what, the definition of Iowa is each year they will go in there, play Kinnick Stadium, and ruin a top 10 season every single year. That's basically their goal.
I mean, it's kind of like Pitt. You really want to be the number 2 team and play Pitt at the end of the season?
No, you don't.
No, I don't think
You
so.
don't. Clemson doesn't. West Virginia doesn't. Sure hell Miami does not.
Definitely, Miami did not want to be there this year. So with the Alabama team here, for all you Roll Tide people, you guys have a fun time beating Mercer. I'm sure that was fun.
And then
You
we're
guys-
ready to play.
They played.
Best
LSU
win, Mississippi State.
They beat LSU.
LSU too, but
Mississippi
Again.
State.
The home field
They should have
advantage.
lost to Mississippi State.
Should have.
Didn't. Pulled it out.
Texas A&M, they struggled with a little bit.
Yeah, and I think
It's not as good as an Alabama team as it usually is.
and if they put Alabama in, it just kind of looks like the Alabama Invitational.
Really.
Makes it seem like
And the sad part is Alabama could probably rule Clemson this year, I think.
you think so.
I think so.
Whew. Well, then why wouldn't they be in your top four? It's the top best teams.
It all depends on who wins your conference.
Conference championships do matter, but all of those tiebreakers only come into play if that team is not better.
I understand that, but Alabama right now, after that loss,
I mean, let's play the eye test. They played
to think about this.
Mississippi State. They played Mississippi State, looked bad. Mercer, that doesn't even count as a game. Then they played Auburn, looked terrible.
And again, Alabama would not lose to Syracuse.
Alabama would lose to Syracuse. Yeah, you got to think, though, their starting quarterback went out. And
I know. I'm just telling you, Alabama would have...
they played on a Friday night. It's kind of like the Ohio State game at Iowa. I know they didn't play on a Friday, but, they played on a Friday night. Their quarterback went out. I mean, there was just so much that went into that.
Yeah, I just feel like, they deserve to be left out for losing, fact. But I'm saying if they were in there, I don't think anyone would want to play them.
You don't want to play Alabama
No.
at any time of your schedule.
But the committee deserves to leave them out because they don't deserve it.
So why don't they say that about Ohio State, losing to Oklahoma by a very large amount and then getting rolled by
It just
Iowa?
all depends on what Ohio State does this weekend.
Do you think they got to win by a certain amount of
I
points?
think they might have to. If it's really close, or if they come back like they did against Penn State, I mean, we're really lucky to talk about Ohio State right now. If they didn't come back against Penn State, we wouldn't be talking about Ohio State in this
Well,
thing.
if we didn't roll Michigan State, I don't think we'd be talking about Ohio
No,
State.
absolutely not.
So what do you think about if Miami beats Clemson? Do you put a 2-loss Clemson in?
No, at that point, Clemson's out, but just Miami doesn't have it, man. That offense just looks pitiful.
So basically, all these games are playoff games.
Playoff.
So this is for everybody who wants the playoff to be expanded.
Right.
This is for you people.
Just,
This is a 9-team playoff where 8 teams get to play against each other. And one team doesn't get to and gets to sit and wait. Finally, to wrap up, we're going to talk about our own Mount Union Raiders. We don't know anything about the other team, but what we do know is
I actually know a little bit about this Frostburg State team. They beat W&J last week from Maryland, but Mount Union's going to roll over this team.
yeah,
too
we're Mount
small.
Union.
Or Mount Union. The only one, Mary Hardin Baylor might be down there. Who knows?
Maybe. We're too good. We're too fast.
Folks, nothing to worry about. You'll see Mount Union in the semifinals. Mount will win big.
D'Angelo Fulford.
Yeah, kid's an animal.
Jay Hill.
Jay Hill. And
I think he's the best wide receiver in Division III.
Yep, and Larry Karras will be there.
Tell me how he gets co-wide receiver of the year.
I don't know.
You put anyone up there. Division 2 and 3, he's the best.
Okay.
All right, folks. Well, we really appreciate you listening to us. Please subscribe and leave us comments on
And
anything
please,
you want. And
don't hesitate to ask questions.
Tell your friends.
Tell your
For
friends
us.
about this. Love this podcast. Think about that.
We are having a great time doing this, and we thank you.